This is just a quick instructional video for you on doing the economic zombie apocalypse worksheet. We don't have class on Monday because it's a holiday, and so this is due on Tuesday. And so I thought I'd just do a quick instruction video, just giving some basic instructions. I'll go over this a little bit on Wednesday in class and stuff, but for those of you who want to stay on track with your due dates and stuff as we get closer to the end of the quarter, this will just be a quick video to hopefully answer your questions, okay? So for the zombie apocalypse video, or the zombie apocalypse worksheet, okay, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you're going to go to modules, and it's going to be in module 9, lesson 2. Okay, so you're going to scroll down. And for module 9, lesson 2, there's no notebook or quiz, so you're going to do the course arc, and then you're going to do the EverFi assignment, the economy, that's in Marketplace. Okay, so you'll go into the EverFi, go into the Marketplace program, and it's the economic building. Remember, those 5 buildings. And then the other part that is due is the zombie apocalypse worksheet. So this is kind of notebooks, kind of replacing the 9.2 notebook quiz, okay? This is a summative grade, so this is a real opportunity again to get some points. You don't want to skip this or not pay attention. Okay, so the notebook is here. The instructions are here, all right? So we're going to go and we're going to click on this. We're going to open up the link so that we can set up our worksheet. Once you have your worksheet open, we are going to rename it. Okay, so you can put your last name if you want, or whatever helps you. Save it onto your Google Drive to your government folder. Okay, so save it on there to your government folder, and then make it shareable so that when you submit it, anyone with the link. Okay, so don't email it to me, but just make it shareable. Anyone with the link. Okay, so rename, save to your Google Drive, and then make it shareable. That way, when you submit it, it is it's open. I could open it, grade it. All right. Let's go back into the instructions really quick. We'll keep that tab open. So what you have here is you have kind of a shortened form of the worksheet, which the one you have is just a long form of this, okay, for you to fill in, and you can type in and answer directly all these answers, okay? So let's read what the assignment is, and then we'll look through this economic worksheet really quick, okay, that can help you, and then you'll go about doing this assignment. Okay, so here's the scenario, okay? A zombie apocalypse is happening. If you ever walk like The Walking Dead, or I forget the new one that's out on HBO. We've been watching it. I forget, another zombie. There's those zombie movies, or zombie shows where it's, okay, what do we do now that we're in a post-apocalyptic society? What does that look like? Okay, so here we go. The background. It's finally happened, the zombie apocalypse. That's right. You live in a post-apocalyptic world. Devastation surrounds you. Broken infrastructure crumbles. Communications are destroyed, and zombies roam. The population of your city has become so limited that only 1,000 people remain. So think how little that actually is. If you ever attended a brick and mortar high school, like when I taught at Coronado High School, we had 3,300 kids. So that's barely a third of the students. You secured a small area that you think is fairly safe from the zombies. Okay, so you kind of trying to reestablish a home ground. You probably have some kind of fence or border, right, to keep out those stray zombies as you come across them for protection. The war is over and it's time to rebuild. So it's time to create a new kind of everyday life. The people are looking to you to forge a bright future and stable economy. Directions. You can choose any economy or government. So you could choose capitalism, you could choose socialism, you could choose communism, you could just governments, you could choose democracy, you could choose a dictatorship, you could choose monarchy, you could choose military state. I mean, think about what you tend to see in those kind of shows. You don't tend to see democracy. So, what are you going to choose? What's it take? Is order more important, or people's opinion more important? Is people being happy more important, or setting up the structure? What do you need decisions quick? Do you need them diplomatic? Think about necessity versus want versus need, kind of. Be consistent once you choose those. Whatever you choose, your decisions should be reflective through your assignment, okay? And then you will work through the questions and make decisions on this new society. So the first part one is going to be starting from scratch and kind of giving some basics of your society, the goals, the structure of it. Okay, part two, what resources you have, and um, how will you get them, or what are you not going to be able to get because of the infrastructure being broken, or what's left of the infrastructure. Okay. And then government. So, what role is the government going to have? What services can you provide? What will they not, or what can they give you? What can they not give you? Or are people going to be out of luck on some things? Again, you got to be realistic. Sometimes want and need don't align. It's not possible, and so what can you really do? Okay. So three basic economic questions. So three questions that you kind of need to answer is: what goods and services should be produced? What is absolutely needed? What should those how should those goods and services be produced? So how are they being produced? Who's doing it? And then who gets the goods and services? How are you determining who's getting what? Are you having it based on work? Are you having it based on production? Are you going to create another currency? Do people have to put in so much work in order to get food? How are you gonna run that? Okay. How do different economies make decisions? Okay. So the three major questions: what goods and services should be produced? These are good questions to kind of think about. How should they be produced? And then how do you determine who gets what? Do certain jobs get you more than others? Just quality of the job, how many hours, like how are you regulating that? How does the US answer these three economic questions? So think about how we answer them in our economy. Um, what goods and services do we produce in the US? How do we produce those goods and services? What do we import? What do we export? What do we produce ourselves? How do we determine who in our society gets what? And we can see that based on income, types of jobs, so income is a big part of that. So are you going to take that into consideration in your new society, or is it going to be different? Is that possible? What should the economy prioritize? What are the trade-offs? Is defense really important? Do you need to get that border up? Do you need to have military for other raiders coming through, or zombies trying to take your stuff, things like that? Or is healthcare more important, or is security more important, or is schooling more important? Like, what are you going to prioritize? Economists generally break these priorities into six main goals. So, economic freedom, allowing individuals to make their own economic decisions without government interference. Some focus on efficiency, reducing waste while trying to make sure that consumers are able to get what they want. Equity, are we going to distribute them, fairly? How and what is fairness going to look like? So is the person who refuses to work and I still get food? Or how are children going to be treated? Or how are the elderly going to be treated? How are we going to determine what's your system for determining who gets what and making that equitable or fair? And is it possible, to do it fully? Okay. So these are good things to kind of think about, take into consideration. Okay. What are economic systems? There are three basic questions that you look at. Okay. Customs, what traditions are you going to use? What customs, rituals, traditions, determine um, how it's produced. Work usually is divided among gender lines. So who's going to have what roles? Who's going to be on guard? Who's going to do patrol? Who's going to work the fields? Who's going to work with the cows? Who's going to do the schools? Who's going to be, how are you going to do that? How are you going to prioritize? How are you going to create a stable society so that all you work for doesn't go to ruin? Who's in charge, in command of the economy? You're going to have a lot of different opinions. Are you going to take a more historical approach? Are you going to take, kind of that emperor or person that steps up and what they say goes? Are you going to do a dictatorship and people just have to suck it up? Are you going to do more of a, prioritize stability over happiness, over freedom? Are you going to take more of a socialist perspective, where, everyone gets the same? And how do you determine that and keep people happy with that? What commands economy? Command economies have you heard of in past and present? Um, oop, okay, thing is acting up too far. Okay. What is a market economy? So, all economy decisions are made by individuals or businesses with no government regulation. Adam Smith, talked about the invisible hand. That's capitalism. Having a free market, laissez-faire. And that the competition will create a better economy. A mixed economy is where there's some decisions by government, some by individuals. So this is kind of more of our modern world. So historically in the United States, we saw more free capitalism. In our modern world, we really don't have free capitalism. We have elements of capitalism where the government makes decisions and individuals. So there's kind of this combined effort where we have regulations over individuals. So I have choices, but to a certain degree. And the government provides some goods and services as well. So would you try to emulate that, or would you do something that's totally run by the government? Okay. So these are things to consider as you go through the assignment. It's worth 50 points total. Okay, so if you scroll down, you can see the rubrics right here. So 15 points for part one, answering all 6 questions and giving clear examples and answering each question. 20 points for part two, and there's 9 questions in total to complete there. And again, answering them completely, okay? And then 15 points for part three, and there are 7 questions in that part. So part one is kind of the starting from scratch, answering the basics. Part two is the resources, and what do you have to work with or what do you not have? And then how is the government and the economy going to align? How are you going to run the economy? Okay, so once you have what you need, how do you actually run that? Okay. Whoops, looks like I wasn't on the page. So again, 15 points for part one, 20 points for part two, 15 points for part three. Part one is 6 questions, starting from scratch, laying the basics. Part two is assessing the resources. And then part three is that government intervention in 7 questions. So for a total of 50 points in the summative category. Okay. So going through, they shouldn't be one word answers. Okay. You should be describing them, being really, really clear with your answers, and stuff. So, and be realistic. You're not going to have everything. Okay. So what are you lacking? What do you have? What are your abilities? And maybe think about some of those shows you've seen before, that kind of give you a picture of major production stops. If you only have 1,000 people, factories are not happening. They've probably been destroyed and things like that. You probably have, what vehicles do you have left? Is it harder as time goes on? It's gonna be harder to get gasoline and vehicles and repair and stuff like that. What specialists do you have amongst your 1,000 people? Do you have doctors, engineers, people who are good? You might not have a power grid. So those are things you have to kind of keep in mind, or what are some of those limitations realistically to keep this society going? Okay, I look forward to seeing what you have. If you have any questions, come see me during small group, or you feel free to send me an email. Okay, thank you so much.